Vaas Insanity is a roguelike DLC expansion added to Far Cry 6. It'll be out later this week. Surprisingly, Ubisoft has decided to make 3 DLCs based solely around the villains in past Far Cry games for Far Cry 6's DLC. Pagan Min, Joseph, and the first is Vaas Insanity, of which you're going to be able to see a review right now. I'll try to be fairly spoiler-free as this isn't the longest DLC overall. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. So graphically, yes, this is the same thing as Far Cry 6 and that engine, and most of their resources are just used in different ways in this location, whether it just be a different landscape. But Vaas is instantly recognizable from other locations in Far Cry 6 because of the way it's put together. The moment you see sharks swimming in the sky and Vaas is like, man, I must be high as fuck, you sort of know exactly where you're going with this. The small clustered locations that Vaas's story is told through has some really weird spots and surreal settings that I actually didn't really expect but absolutely appreciated, from exploring naval vessels stuck in caves to fields full of arms, like the world grew out of some Grateful Dead concert and everybody forgot to ask them to leave before they planted it. Enemies, of course, have a slightly adjusted design for this. It's not totally new, though admittedly your main enemies actually look very close to the later bad guys in Far Cry Primal with their war paints and their coloring. But don't expect them to stay low-tech for very long. Pyromaniac children grow up to have pyromaniac kids of their own, and that's exactly what you run into in this game, with a ton of flamethrower dudes, all kinds of shotgun-carrying freaks, and at least 3 zoos worth of wild animals that you can face off against. Graphically, no, the game's not any great shakes when it comes to something brand new. This is not a sequel, this is a DLC, but I do think that artistically they went a little out there and tried some different stuff. For example, blood rain, or when you're out there swimming and you realize the oceans have blood in them. By the way, search the oceans because there are a bunch of secrets in the water there. More than I was expecting. When it comes to graphics, I will say it performs exactly the same way. So if you had good performance in Far Cry 6, most likely you'll get identical performance here. You have all the adjustments that you did with that prior game. As a package, I like the look of it more artistically than I do in any kind of technical format, but it does reflect Vaas's crazy-ass personality, and in a way, that's awesome. The first base that you come out and sort of look around and see, it doesn't take you long before you realize, man, we ain't in Kansas anymore.
Ah, fuck. Now I have to go get that piece of knife again, to go back, to come again, to die again. Fuck!
And when you jump into a game like this and you know that the character is going to be this bad guy everybody's been so excited to see again, the big question's going to be, has Vaas returned suitably nuts for this kind of game? And yes, it has. The voice actor's back. And right from the start, honestly, I was not sure how this was going to go, but Vaas comes out of the war womb swinging. He makes one-liners about death, about killing himself before his brain can kill himself, as he's trying to kill himself, and other weird random tangents that you probably expect from this character, but they were really good. He isn't full batshit insane. It's just enough to keep you going and realizing it is this character seeing the world. Or even this unique style of gameplay. Vaas says something along the lines of it being really awkward that you are looking into the eyes of another man as you die. There's just these little one-liners that I really did like, and I think that voice actor nailed them. You get to see some story behind the scenes about this character as well, all voiced by him. I was actually really impressed. Now, was I as impressed about the gameplay itself? Welcome to villainhood as Vaas. Deference to the good guy's story aside, a good villain can be vital as a component in a construct of a story, and they're so intertwined, irreplaceable even, that their existence is, I think, to many, the wall in which we write the stories of heroes. Whether it's mayhem, murder, or just monkey shines of villains' actions and attitude, cornerstone a lot of gamers' greatest experiences. With this experience, insanity mixes perfectly. It starts out with Vaas waking up not knowing exactly what's happened. His sister tells him that he needs to keep dying and keep going and keep killing to uncover the truth about this weird place. To do this, he has to recover 3 parts of the Dragon Blade. Each one is located within a specific mission in the game world, which also reflects a specific time in Vaas's mind, and protected by harder and harder enemies. The slightly off-hinged way in which he actually works all of this out within the game world sets that narrative just slightly askew, that enough questions are asked about what exactly is going on in this weird purgatory that you feel like you're learning something without really being told it. And it works perfectly, reflecting into this character that relishes the idea of dying multiple times and coming back and making one-liners about it. And just like every roguelike, with every death, Vaas loses his items and powers that aren't permanent. But also with each one, he has a slow ability to start to unlock some permanent powers and skills that can make him stronger, as well as items as he returns to this land. He can also adjust what happens to him as he dies, like maybe keeping a little bit of money from each death and rolling it over. Another thing, though, that doesn't roll over are the Silver Blade pieces. Those are the main mission pieces. So rushing off to do the main mission may sound like it rocks, and you may get 1 piece, maybe even 2. But if you die on your way to the 3rd, boom, that's all reset as well. And so in my book, it is best to explore, it is best to experience, and at the very least estimate how powerful you need to be to take those main missions on. And doing the side missions are rewarding enough in and of themselves, not only because of the story, but the items that you get and the power that you get to play around with. And the idea of adjusting those for each gameplay playthrough is very cool, because you can turn up the difficulty once you beat it the first time on the lowest. And when you turn up the difficulty, it really changes the requirements. For example, you might find a temporary power that is stopping you from taking a bunch of damage from fire. It may sound like no big deal if you're on mind level 1, but if you're on mind level 4 and you meet a flamethrower carrying dude, trust me, you're going to want that one. For a game of this kind, I think that Ubisoft did a very good job putting together just how many challenges and how busy they wanted this game location to be, because it's not a massive world in and of itself. You've got your main challenges, you have your armory challenges, you got your WTF missions, and you have your main stories with the blade itself. Each has their own difficulty rating, as well as the unique overall difficulty of the game world. I do admit, though, some of those ratings and difficulty ratings were a little bit off to me. There's some armory missions. These are where you get the ability to unlock an item, a weapon of some sort, when you do these armory challenges. Now, if you do an armory challenge after you've unlocked the weapon, usually what it'll do is it'll unlock the next level up for a mod or some more damage. Some of those would say that they were only 3 strikes when it comes to their difficulty out of 5, or 4 strikes. And I got to tell you, there was 1 or 2 of them that were rated 3 that were weirdly hard. And I couldn't figure out if that was just the way the game world was set up and weird or unlucky spawns, or something else. And perhaps it just came down to the powers that I had chosen. I did get through them, but I noticed that difficulty. The circle of life and death, and life and death, and then life and slightly cooler stuff, and then death, and then life again with a bit more cool stuff, is what sells it to a lot of gamers. Understanding the game is just DLC, it's not a full expansion or a sequel, is the best way to really enjoy this with those proper expectations. You get a bit more of Vaas, you get some crazy ass mental moments, and a couple upgrade paths for you to play around with. Also, you can play this game co-op, and the other person does not need the DLC for this to work. You just need to be on the same family of consoles, and the main player needs to have it. This game's fun factor is actually higher than I expected. Let's face it, not a lot of people want to be Yoda. Some people want to be Luke, but a whole heap and helping of Halloweens were gifted with grill-faced Vaders stapled together by overworked moms, just making sure that Billy had a fucking sweet time. When it comes to moving and shooting, it's almost exactly like Far Cry 6. There isn't some magical newness here. It doesn't change the pattern. It just adds a layer, letting you experience for the first time in Far Cry the point of view of the bad guy. It also, I think, will pull some people in there that will be able to jump in and maybe test this kind of gameplay out for themselves. It's no great shakes. It doesn't change the world. It just adds what I think are a lot of little elements that make sense into a layer cake of DLC, and it works, and I had a blast. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating system. This is, of course, within the DLC, so it's more along the lines of, do you get the full DLC or not? I don't know if you can get it separately, at least right now. But if you do have it, is it worth downloading or possibly looking at that DLC at a later time to get all of these things? I can say this. If this is the first step to what we see for the enemies, for the villains of Far Cry, this is a good first step. Not a grandiose one, not a perfect one, not a masterpiece, but a good one. One that's enjoyable, one that's fun, and one that fits the character and the gameplay style. And, by the way, is a gameplay style I could actually see enjoying in Far Cry a lot. especially if they could adjust some of those AI issues and other issues that continue to plague Far Cry 6 and, yeah, this DLC as well. But anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys like this review. If you guys get a chance, check this out. It's quite interesting, even if not necessarily, like I said, some epic brand new thing. That's it for me. Peace out. Make sure you follow the channel or the Patreon, and you can give this video a thumbs up. Can't give it a thumbs down, though. Well, you can, but only I'll see it. Peace out.